Hello, I'm Lorna and welcome to my YouTube channel, Thread and Yarn. I like to share all of the different things I've made, often from my wardrobe, with knitting, sewing, a bit of hand quilting and natural dyeing. And in this episode I'm going to just give you a little bit of an update about what I've been up to, things I've been making, some ideas I have, an update as well, excitingly, on the Briar Shawl pattern, which I've been working on for a long time, months, probably close to a year, and it is nearly ready for release. I'm going to be sharing some more details about that, but I'm going to be releasing it next week, along with some different naturally dyed colourways for kits to knit the Briar Shawl. So yeah, I'm so excited. It's been a long time coming and I can't wait to tell you more about it. So yeah, thank you so much for your messages about the pattern, and I thought I'd tell you a little bit more about the inspiration behind it and the different texture stitches and sort of what they mean. So firstly, welcome to anybody who's new to the podcast. I like to do these sort of updates about once a month, where I talk about the things that I'm making or have made, some like the seasonal colours that I'm using, and yeah, whatever I'm sewing as well, because I like to sew all my own clothes and a little bit of gardening too. I've got a dye garden and an allotment, and I like to take you on little trips around there. In fact, I did film some of that the other day from my allotment, so I'll pop that in this video update too. And welcome back to anybody who has been here before. It's lovely to have you. I'm really enjoying this sort of online digital community that we're creating, and I love hearing what you're up to, and it was just an absolute joy to meet some of you at the recent winter gathering knitting retreat that we held here in Stroud. So I'll share a little update about that as well, but it was delightful. I always struggle to structure my videos, and I get an idea, I sort of have a rough idea in my head about what I want to talk about, and then I just talk about what what I remember and in that order. So I'm trying to be a little bit more structured, and also not sort of bombard you with talking through the colourways of the kits and things if that's not what you're here for. But hopefully you would, if you like yarn and you like hearing about dyeing, it would be interesting regardless. So but I'll keep that to sort of the second half of the video, and I will talk a little bit about some updates and then a bit more about the pattern, and then I'll talk you through the different colourways and the different yarn bases and things for those who are interested. So I hope you enjoy this video. So it's near the end of February now, I guess mid to late February, and we had a few sort of nice spring-like days, but today the wind is absolutely howling. You might even be able to hear it on the video. I'm not sure how good my camera is on my phone or microphone at sort of blocking things like that, but it's been absolutely howling. In fact, the chickens didn't want to come out of their house. They hate bad weather. Yeah, so it's howling and feeling very blustery, and I think that's the forecast for the days ahead, so reminding me that we're still in this kind of wild part of the year. That's okay. So if I talk a little bit about sewing first, I haven't had that much time for sewing recently. I've been quite busy working on this and prepping for the retreat, and I always feel with sewing, as much as I love it, that I kind of want to have the energy for a session, or I can't just pick it up and put it back down like I would with knitting for 10 minutes or something. I need like some clear mind headspace, some clear space around me to work, and yeah, just some energy. So I do have, as I'm clutching here, some fabric. I do have plans to do a bit of sewing. I have found that I talked a bit about this in a Patreon video at the end of last month. I have found that I have worn my what they called modern sewing worker trousers just basically every day. Every day that I'm not wearing a skirt or something, I'm wearing those, or my gardening dungarees. I love them. They're super comfortable. I've really gotten to love the shape, and I found that they just, yeah, they work with my fairly mucky practical life, so that's great. So I would really like another pair, because they need a day off. So last month, yeah, I washed this 12-ounce cotton twill from Merchant Mills that I've had for quite a long time. I actually made my Otterline jacket in this, and it's got a almost like a suediness to it. It's really soft, like brushed texture, and it's in this lovely rich ochre colour. Actually really reminds me of some of the dyes I got from Walnut Leaf in the summer, which makes me happy. But I'm thinking a really nice tough cotton twill pair would be brilliant, and I can see this colour being really, you know, obviously it's quite classic, but I can see it being really wearable colour with a lot of my palette. You can see some of them behind me, but I quite like a natural coloured palette, and there's some of the darker ones hanging up yet for me to skein. And yes, I like a natural palette, and I quite like autumnal colours, although judging from tests on the internet, I seem to be a soft autumn. I don't know how much stock to put in those kinds of colour analysis tests online, but I do think it's right. I think my partner's got a similar colour palette, but he's much darker than I am, and I think my colours are quite soft, so I don't wear stuff with quite as much depth as he does. He looks great in sort of really dark mustards and dark greens and rich greys. Anyway, so I think that this will basically be a very wearable colour. I don't know why I'm scrunching up in a ball. Yeah, these are, I'm going to have a lot more free time from March. I'm finishing my work as a copywriter, and I am going full time on gardening and thread and yarn, doing a much more sort of flexible week, which I think is going to be really great. But I'm going to have some actual time and energy and headspace to do some sewing. So this is first on my list. I can't wait to do those. But I don't actually have anything sort of finished sewn to show you. But that's okay. I've been reflecting a lot on my making practice recently, and I think part of that is because I'm thinking, well, I am sort of going more full time on this creative work. I think that, you know, using up materials is definitely part of the learning process. You need to try, and you need to be able to practice to build your skills and learn and, you know, have fun, and, you know, it's a hobby as well. But I also need, you know, I've been thinking about what I'm actually consuming, because it is a hobby that uses up resources, but it's important to me to understand where it comes from, how it's made, and value it a lot more. So buying much fewer times, buying less, and it being better quality that's going to last longer, and that I really develop my mending skills, which I'm doing through, I've shown you this book before, but it's downstairs. It's because we're always using it. Skye Pennant's Well-Worn Mending Book is just the best mending book I've come across. I just think it's so practical and beautiful, and Skye is a delightful human, so support her, please. I've been trying to think a bit about that with my practice with dyeing, and everybody's going to have their own practice and, you know, what they're happy with. But for me to feel comfortable, I only at the moment want to release small collections of yarn. Firstly, because I like doing lots of different things. I like natural dyeing, I like following the colours in the season, I like also experimenting with dye extracts, natural ones, throughout the year. But I also like designing, and I like making for me. I like gardening, I like being outside, and there's lots of different things that I like doing, and I need my time to be quite flexible, and I think I'm lucky that I can do that. But then I'm also sort of going where my energy goes, and I'm much more productive as a result, I think, and successful when I follow my nature. Something that I'm learning, you know, after 34 years or whatever of being on this planet, nearly. So I am going to be doing small collections, and probably seasonally, and which kind of fits in with the flow of the kits that I do for Patreon as well. And I feel quite excited about that, and it feels to me like a lovely celebration of an art and a skill and a craft that I'm passionate about, and that I love sharing with others. So something I've been knitting lately, which I've shown you before, but I am knitting this Pagan Skye, and seeing it now, I definitely can say that I've made some progress. I really love it. It's so pretty. It's such a lovely design, and it's been a long time since I've made a colourwork yoke, and this feels very different. And I just love the contrast. I've got natural coloured fleeces here. There's this grey is a Blueface Leicester and Shetland blend, and then the really, really dark brown, nearly black is, I think it's Zvorbtler. I don't know how you say that. I've never said that. I've only ever seen it written down. I'm sure you'll correct me, but yeah, that one. And I got that from the Raw Wool Company at Stitchfest. I rarely buy anything at markets, to be honest. But I just loved their store. There's so much lovely stuff, to be honest, but I try not to, you know, spend every penny that I've earned immediately. But I've just bought one skein of that, and here it is. And it's just beautiful. It's got a little bit of Wensleydale in it as well, I think, so you've got a tiny sort of heathering of the colour. And then this is the Shetland and Blueface Leicester. There you go. They are gorgeous together, both DK weight, and I'm loving the contrast of the natural fleece colours. Obviously I need to do a little bit of blocking here when I got distracted and my floats clearly weren't carrying quite as well, but I think that's minimal. No, a bit of blocking, that'd be fine. But it's there we go. There's the neckline. It's going to be like this. And I've just separated the sleeves from the body, and you know, different to any other colourwork jumper I've done, the colourwork is or yoke colourwork jumper. The colourwork continues down the body a little bit, so that would be fun to do a little bit more. And I'm just loving the pattern coming up. I think for me this looks like a tree with roots, and then this is some kind of magical kingdom underground with all the network of roots and mycelium. That's how I'm imagining. I don't know if that's what it is. But that's my imaginations. But I can't wait to wear this, and it's also going to be so cozy and warm because look at all of that. How exciting. Yay. And the other thing I've knitted recently is a little fallow headband for my mum. It was her birthday, and she's just got these absolutely beautiful, like, bright blue eyes. So I used some of my, it's called Saxon, the colourway, but it's walnut and very quick dip in indigo. So it's a pale sort of dusky brown, dusky blue. And it just, yeah, it looked beautiful on her. But I put up a little video of the finished headband. I've been wearing mine loads gardening, so yeah, I love it. And in fact, I've got, as part of my shop update, I've got some Saxon in my Corridale sock yarn. So this is the colour. There you go. I quite like it because it's got the lovely sort of blue tones, but it's just less sort of vivid than a classic just indigo. It's sort of toned it a bit and made it really warm. I do like it. Yes, that's what I've been knitting. I have also, I mentioned in my previous video, I think, or one of them, that I really wanted to start spinning and to understand a bit more about, you know, just see fibre from a different kind of perspective. And I went to a talk run by Alex, oh, I've forgotten her surname, but she used to do this incredible YouTube podcast called Ancient Craft. I'll link it below. It's probably my favourite ever, very, very high up there. I mean, she's in, yeah, got good competition because there are lots of wonderful other podcasts that I listen to, but I really love Alex's. And yeah, I went to a talk that she was doing with the Land, I think it's called Land Art Collective or something, and she showed us how to spin, and it was kind of woven on drop spindle, and it was woven with stories, like forgotten stories about spinning in Scotland, and so the realities of crofting life and how spinning sort of came into that. And it wasn't all rosy, so it was really a real eye-opener. But I did this during our talk and I loved it. Obviously it was my first ever attempt, so I'm not looking for advice on the thick or thinness or anything like that. I'm just sharing my joy with you. But yeah, this was some fibre that my lovely friend Angela, who also has a knitting podcast, I'll link it below, and she gave it to me for our Secret Santa for our knit group. Here it is. So we don't know what it is, it's a mystery, but it's got a really long staple, and apparently this is the natural fleece colour. So yeah, any ideas about what that might be, let me know. But it's very soft, and it does have a really quite a long staple, and I think that's the right terminology. I had such fun, and it was really therapeutic and amazingly. Probably listening to Alex's soothing voice as well, and I could see myself getting very addicted to this. It's, yeah, lovely. And super excitingly, and this is, yeah, just wonderful, I met up with the lovely Marina Skye in person. She surprised me because she knew I was wanting to learn how to spin. This is so nice. With some of her gorgeous Skye blend fibre. It's just so pretty. It's so pretty, and it just smells delicious. I love that smell. But look at all the different blends of the different fleece colours and fibres in there. I'm so excited to spin this up. Oh my gosh, I'm getting ahead of myself because that's the first bit I've ever done, so I'm going to keep going on that for a bit. And then, yeah, then I'm going to have a go at this. And I'm really, really excited to see what it looks like. So I can see myself, you know, getting very addicted to this hobby. Thank you all as well for your, you know, tips and thoughts about spinning when I mentioned it the first time. I'm sticking to the drop spindle for now and just getting, you know, a hang of like doing the draw. And yeah, I'm going to stick with that. And then when I've got the time or an inclination, I'm going to move to trying the wheel. Yeah, thank you, Marina. Lovely to meet you, and just super lovely for you to give me this. And I can't wait. Super excited. Thank you. Yeah, that's everything. I've been knitting and planning to knit and sew and all that sort of stuff. I've also been to my allotment last week just to check on a few things and to prep my polytunnel ready for growing some tomatoes and some indigo for the year to come. So I'll take you to my allotment for a quick trip around as well. Yeah. I'm at my allotment and it's Sunday, but I'm just going to do a couple of little jobs and I thought I'd show you. I'm just going to check on the compost and I am going to top up my polytunnel. I need to clear out the rest of the indigo. I'm going to gather whatever seeds there are and then I'm going to mulch it with some compost from a compost bin. On my gardening jacket, the Jamila jacket that I showed you in one of my videos, I'll link it here. It's so cosy and warm and it's softened up quite a bit, even though it's got quite a thick wadding. And I'm wearing it here with the old roll neck jumper and my little felted tip toque hat. It's popping off my head because it's pretty cold today. It's like 3 degrees. Cold for the UK anyway. There we go. I thought I'd just talk to you quickly about the retreat that we had here in Stroud. It was really special for me actually. It was a really wonderful long weekend. We were there Thursday sort of late afternoon, early evening to Sunday. And what a wonderful group of people. It was honestly just wonderful to meet some of you in real life and also to welcome back some people who had been to the sewing retreat last year. And it's so hard to sum it up. I had to sort of sit with it for a while because it was actually just, even though it was an event that I was running, you know, it was really, really special for me. The conversations and the sort of bonds that I felt like people built was lovely. But I don't want to summarise other people's experiences for them, but that's what I felt, and I felt like I made friends there and it was just really, really lovely. So thank you to those of you who came. We had fun doing obviously lots of knitting. We went for a ramble, quite a muddy one, but it was good fun. We were worried about the weather, but it turned out to be all right in the end. And Lucia, a wonderful host's house, looked gorgeous and she cooked us loads of lovely comforting food. And then a real highlight for me actually was doing the dried flower wreath making on the last day. It was fun to do something creative with everybody and that, you know, it uses our hands in a different way and our brains in a different way. So there were some beautiful wreaths. I'll share some pictures of that. And lovely Kim, who came along to the retreat, made me this little wreath. How sweet is that? You can tell that Kim is a professional gardener. It's beautiful. So it's hanging on my flower drying wall next to my wreath from a few years ago. And yeah, it's lovely actually, because it is filling the place of the flowers that were drying that I took to the retreat, and it felt strange having them not there anymore, although that was their purpose. And it's lovely to have something there. And yeah, thank you so much, Kim. And I'll have some space as well for the flowers of the next season. And yeah, actually, I can't believe I nearly forgot, but probably the biggest highlight for me, and I think for others as well, was the Five of Folk storytelling evening on the Saturday night. My lovely friend Hannah, who is a professional and incredibly skilled storyteller, like storytellers of old, sat us down around the fire and told us some magical stories, some about fibre, some influenced by the conversations that we'd had over the dinner, and everybody knitted and were just kind of in raptures listening to Hannah
tickle his toes in his sleep. But John's pride and joy was the apple tree that grew outside his home.
It was really special. I really enjoyed it, and Lucia and I are planning some others. We want to keep them like really meaningful and special, and not do too many of them. So, and also, you know, we do work on them for about 6 months in advance of running them. So, but there will hopefully be at least one more this year, maybe 2. And I'm hoping to do a little sewing one as well towards the end of the year. That's probably going to have a little bit of hand quilting involved. So keep an eye out for that. The best place to stay in the loop about that is here on YouTube. I generally prefer YouTube to Instagram. I feel like I can actually build a connection and talk, and you can get to know me and understand what it's all about. Whereas Instagram can feel very like, I don't know, like cursory, and it just depends whether you're in favour on the algorithm or, I don't know, it's just something about it just feels a little bit less tangible to me. Yeah, whereas YouTube just feels a lot more stable and real. So yeah, YouTube is the best place for really sort of keeping in the loop about that kind of stuff. And I think in the future I will still be on Instagram as far as I can tell. Obviously, I'm not leaving at all. I'm still relatively active on there. But YouTube, I hope, is where you can get an idea more of the real me and the stuff I do, and also I can feel a bit more connected to you, and I like that if you're up for that. And also newsletters. I'm going to try and get a little bit better about that, because sometimes I forget about it. So I'll try and sort of release very, very infrequently still. I won't spam your inboxes, but I will let you know things like pattern updates or yarn updates or things like that through the newsletter. So you can, if you go on my website, you can sign up for that, and of course unsubscribe at any time. And then my patrons as well always get sort of first notice and dibs on things like that. So it's lovely to meet lots of my patrons in real life. All those links for everything are in the description as well. So that's the retreat. I just want to talk to you a bit about the Briar Shawl because I'm super excited about it. This is it. This is size 1, and I've been really enjoying wearing it like this at the moment because it really shows off the textured stitch patterns over both shoulders and across your front. And it's just very cozy for being around the house, and it's sort of a bit more, you know, secure like this. And especially as I'm often like rinsing yarn, or I'm I don't know, picking up a chicken or something, it's nice to have it sort of my arms free. So I do really like wearing it like this. But just to tell you a bit more about it, and I'll show you a bit closer up, the Briar Shawl has a number of different textured stitches, and it's designed to sort of reflect the layers of the hedgerow. I've always been really inspired by hedgerows. I think they are like a portal into childhood imagination for me. I think I grew up in rural Wiltshire, or just on the edge of rural Wiltshire, and I would always walk down the little lanes to my friends' houses, and I just remember just looking in, as you do when you're a child and you've got time for curiosity and you're in the practice of it, looking into them and seeing what the different berries were, or the different plants and different animals and critters and all things like that. So I loved hedgerows, and even though there are, you know, a man-made creation, they're the last refuge for wildlife. And a lot of our countryside is very, very sort of geared, certainly parts of it, towards, you know, industrial farming. I was reading a little book about bees recently, and there's better populations of bees in urban centres because of planning initiatives with creating little urban gardens than there are in the countryside, because of the lack of diversity across the countryside. And the amount of pesticides used just can decimate bee populations. So it's a real eye-opener for me, and I've been doing a lot more reading about that recently. Hedgerows have become incredibly important. Got the safety of the brambles and the branches, and they've got all of the nourishment from their berries and the nuts, and materials for nest building, and they're just wonderful little magical places. So I really wanted to celebrate them. And also, like with my fallow patterns, I donated 10% of my profits to 6 inches of soil. There's a little film about it, actually, 6 inches of soil, and a book following some farmers who are trying regenerative farming and really, you know, encouraging biodiversity on their land. So like that, I haven't decided on the charity yet, but I will be donating 10% of profits from the Briar Shawl to a like biodiversity charity. Anyway, so the structure, we've got twisted rib at the bottom, which represents the roots of the hedgerow, and then we've got these simple cables here, which are the brambles that sort of twist around the hedgerows and create their core structure. Then we've got an area here, which is like stems and branches, and then we've got the leaves and berries, and then it blends into blossom, sort of floating through the air in spring, which is what carries on over the rest of the shawl. So it's knitted in this direction. You can see that the textured pattern blends up here into the blossom, and you also start on the textured stitches bit, so you do all the hard work here, and then it's just easy decreasing and the odd bit of blossom as you go up. But because it's knitted in this direction, it's got it means this top edge is on the bias, which means that the stitches are kind of diagonal to the top. And just like fabric, it means that it sort of falls that way, which actually means it hugs your neck just really nicely. And I just love the shape of it, and the feel and the weight. So I've worked on this for such a long time. It's just wonderful to see it come to fruition. And I'm really just loving representing the hedgerow in the form of textured stitches. I did unbelievable amount of swatches until I decided on the techniques for the textured stitches, and then knit these two. So it's very special to me. I have described it as an intermediate pattern purely because of these textured stitches, but that, you know, it's not your first ever knitting pattern. Unless you are the world's most unbelievably confident person. It's not, I mean, it totally depends on your experience, doesn't it? Some people may have knitted for years and years but never done textured stitches. Some people may be very confident to just give it a go. So I'll put that in your hands to decide. I've had a few questions about that, but that really, you know, that's up to you how confident you feel. It does come with a video tutorial on how to do all of these textured stitches. I only talk through the cables because there's a wealth of information about cables online, but the other stitches, there's a video tutorial of how to do every single bit, including the twisted rib, the leaves, the berries, the lateral braid that goes across here, these little wraps. It's all in the video. And also with the pattern, there's a separate file, which is a practice swatch, which is like a mini pattern, so you can knit a little. Oh, I left it downstairs. Everything's downstairs. It's a little like coaster-sized piece of swatch that you can create with all the textured stitches on. So you can just practice that on its own first, get a feel for the construction and like the stitches, and then you can cast on your shawl if you like. really, really excited to see more versions come to life. I did a little secret test knit, and my delightful friend Christina, who owns a haberdashery here in Stroud, knitted an amazingly gorgeous version in undyed yarn, and I just love seeing it in this colour. It's so, so pretty in the undyed yarn. Look at that. Gorgeous. Christina's yarn, so this is a double knitting pattern DK weight. Christina's yarn was quite like a heavy DK, a bit closer to like a worsted or Aran, so she did change her needle size to get gauge, and the fabric is slightly different as a result, just as in terms of using it as an example, but it's worked really well and it's beautiful. This I think is a Cotswold fleece yarn that she sells in the shop, but I'm going to put it on double Briar Shawl. I think the undyed creamy colour is just stunning. It's a size 2, but it's bigger than my size 2 because her yarn is a different weight basically. But isn't that gorgeous? Just love seeing the different versions come to life, and it inspired me to make some kits that had undyed fleece in as well. So I've got some Romney, 100% Romney. I'll talk through this in a bit actually, but it's the right gauge for the pattern. It's the undyed fleece, so it's less than the other kits, but I've washed it all, and you know, if you're into dyeing, you could also give it a go with dyeing. It's not mordanted, but I have done the sort of scouring, washing part, so it's all sort of blooming really nicely. And I think that would be a gorgeous shawl, and I'm quite tempted to do another third Briar Shawl for me. So I'm going to release the pattern on Ravelry and in my Patreon shop on Thursday the 27th of February and at 5 PM UK time. I always and ah about the right time to release something. I think I've decided on 5 o'clock, 5 PM. And that will be when I also release the yarn kits on my website. So if you're interested in a yarn kit, they will knit both size 1 and size 2. So this is size 1, I'll start with that. So this is a more sort of traditional way to wear it. It's a triangular shawl and yeah, this is size 1. And you can also wear size 1, well, either of them really, but I wear size 1 more like this as a scarf. There you go. And then size 2 is just a bit bigger. You can see it comes down further down my arms and down my back. And this one I particularly love wearing like this. And then it just really shows off that textured stitch work that you've done. Also, I'm so excited about this, and this is probably a really disorganised way to describe things. My friend Tom in Stroud, who's a wood turner, has made these beautiful handmade pins. They're wooden, and then he's oiled and waxed them. They're made from the blackthorn tree, which is a wonderful, beautiful staple of the British hedgerow, and the name of some of my colourways. And he's even kept on some of the bark. Isn't that so special? And the shape of it is just so organic and gorgeous. They've been specifically designed for the Briar Shawls. They go really well with a DK weight or bigger shawl. And they are, bigger at one end and then taper down into this narrow point. They're all completely individual. This is my one, because he's handmade them all. And they're just so special. So these are going to be in my shop update as well. Because he hand makes them, they take a while. There's only going to be, I think, about 15 of them. So that'll be like an added extra option you can add on as you check out for the kit. And I'll put a couple of them just on the shop on their own as well. But I love wearing it like this and then just gently sort of feeding it in through the stitches. That's what I do. And then it just kind of holds it in place. And I just love that it's made from a hedgerow tree as well, and he's kept some of the, you know, the character from the blackthorn tree. I just think what a good idea. That's so beautiful. He's clearly very creative. Yeah, so that's an added little extra. The other extra you can add on is one of my little illustrated cards. So I did a little illustration to celebrate the Briar Shawl. So here it is. And it's paired with my bramble skirt, because actually one of the original, why I called it the Briar Shawl, I forgot to say, is because I'm obsessed with the Detectorists and Johnny Flynn's song, well, the main theme tune, which sings about briars and brambles. And that's why they're called the Briar Shawl and the bramble skirt. And I've actually got my bramble skirt on now. Yeah, it's just a sort of celebration of hedgerows. See how many animals you can spot in it. There's various birds and insects and little mammals and all sorts of creatures. So yeah, that's my illustration printed on a sort of heavy quality recycled card. It's my little illustration business. And yeah, you can add these on if you want to pop in with your little shawl kit, or just if you wanted to order a pin and a card, or either on their own. They're all options are available. But that's also going to be on my website from Thursday at 5. So yeah, I talk you through the kits. Some kits are still sort of drying downstairs, so I don't have them to show you. But I've got a little selection behind me that I just thought I'd give you a flavour. They're all named after and inspired by colours and trees, plants and flowers in our hedgerows. So I've shown you the Romney already, and yes, either the kits will be enough to knit either size 1 or size 2, as long as you get gauge, of course, and there's a little bit extra added on as well. So yeah, that's the 100% Romney wool. It's really lovely. It's my Earther DK, I called it, which is just Old English word for like the land and earth and soil, which I just loved. But it's yeah, it's quite bouncy. It's what I've used to make my fallow headband kits. I quite like it next to skin. It's not as soft as my hedgerow DK, which I'll talk through in a bit, but it's a really lovely like workhorse woolly wool. Then I've got Cobnut. This is in my Thicket DK, and that is a blend of Blueface Leicester and Gotland fleece, so it's really, really warm. It's got a slight sort of fuzzy halo and heathered base because of the blend of fleeces. This I dyed with walnut leaf last autumn, and it's like a pale gold, like a warm, yeah, deep beige, pale gold, I would say, on a grey base, so that's tones it. It's what I knit my size 1 sample with. And you can see it really sort of fluffs up and blooms. This is a hedgerow base, and it's much more sort of tightly spun, and you've got brilliant stitch definition, and it drapes beautifully, and is probably the softest, the hedgerow. This Thicket DK is soft, not as soft as the hedgerow, about similar to the Earther DK, but you can see the different textures between them. This is a hedgerow DK. So these are the 3 different bases. This is Thicket, this one. You can see it is less tightly spun, it's got a bit more of a halo. And then this is the hedgerow DK. This is a blend of Masham and Blueface Leicester. It's more tightly spun and makes the stitches a bit more obvious, and I would say it's the softest and the most drapey, but it is still lovely and warm. And then this is the Earther DK, the Romney, which looks more similar to the hedgerow, but it's slightly less soft and a bit more sort of got a bit more sort of structure to it. The other one I've got in the Thicket DK is Slow. I love Slow. It's the fruit of the blackthorn tree. It's really purpley, this colourway, like a really sort of witchy purple. It's on a grey base, and it's dyed with madder and a bit of iron and cutch, and it's just meant that it's got this really sort of warm grey purple, quite dark. There you go. In fact, I've got a skein here as well that I haven't wound up, but just to give you an idea of the colour. I've only got one of these kits. It is beautiful. I think it would be a really stunning shawl. I think it is quite a spooky colourway, which I really love. That's the other one I've got in the Thicket. I've also got Catkin in the Thicket, which is this kind of goldy colour. Here's 2. I've got this sort of pale caramel called Hazel, a really sort of lovely mid-warm brown. And then this is Rose Hip, which was similar to Hazel, and then has also gone in a Madder Bath exhaust, and it's got this sort of coppery colour. But it's quite bright as well. I think that would be lovely. So that's Hazel and that's Rose Hip. Both of those are hedgerow. I've also got some colourways where there's one dye lot 1 and dye lot 2, and this is an example of that. So this is Bramble Blossom. I've dyed it with Cooch and with Madder. So we've got a slight browny tone to it and then a sort of purpley pinky. Now this is dye lot 1. So this is just a slightly deeper colour than this one. You can see that. So just to bear in mind when you're choosing, to make sure you choose dye lot 1 or dye lot 2, depending on which you prefer. But they really reminded me of the sort of pale, dusky, purpley pink flowers you get on the blackberry plants and the hedgerows. And they make a lovely, like, neutral shawl, but with a slight toning of colour. I think that'd be really, really gorgeous and really show off the stitches. Another one that I've got 2 dye lots of is this here. So this is Buckthorn, and this is much pinkier than the Bramble Blossom, which has got a bit more purpley tone. See, this is a bit cooler. I would say they're all on the warm spectrum, but this is definitely cooler than Buckthorn. And Buckthorn has also got a dye lot 1 and a dye lot 2, maybe a slightly more different, much more sort of orangey pinky tones, both dyed with walnut leaf that I toned in the autumn and then have dyed with Madder since. And I changed it to be a slightly more orangey toned Madder by shifting the pH. So yeah, that's a bit more orangey pink. So it depends on the tones you like, really. Dye lot 1, dye lot 2. Right, and then I've also got a couple of kits with the Frosted Blackthorn, and this is, I do really like this. This is a couple of dips of indigo on the Masham and Blueface Leicester Fleece hedgerow, which has a slightly sort of browny base to it. So you've got this lovely warm mid blue, and I've got 2 of those kits. So that's those. And then I've got some greeny kits downstairs, which have just coming out of the dye pots and are drying at the moment. Not as bright as this, a slightly different sort of paler green, because it's on a white Romney base rather than on the grey base. And there are warmed autumnal tones in the shawl kits, and also some cooler tones with purples and greys and blues. But they're all beautiful colours of nature. And there'll be some greens coming as well that are just drying at the moment. So your kit will come like this, cozied up with a little ribbon and recycled packaging, and there'll be some care instructions for your naturally dyed yarn and a little postcard as well. And of course a pin and a card if you choose to add that to your order. I love wrapping up the yarn in ribbon like this. It really makes it feel like a present. But yes, they'll all be on my website, and I'll share some on my Instagram and newsletter as well. So that's all the kits. I'm also thinking of doing a Briar Shawl knit along, and I will do that on my Patreon. You don't have to be a Patreon to access the knit along. It'll be a public page. I just think the platform will probably work quite well for it, because I've seen others do that too. So if you're keen, whether or not you want to knit it with my wool, another wool, whatever, it can be quite nice to cast on, you know, with company and have somewhere to share ideas and things like that. So I'll run the knit along on there, and I'll do that for a month. No pressure to all start on the same day or anything. I just thought it'd be nice to have a little group going. So yeah, I'll put more details about that in my newsletter, and I'll talk through that again as well in my next video, so no rush. Also on the shawl pattern, it's just digital at the moment. When you order a kit, you will get a sort of a link for downloading the Ravelry pattern. If you struggle with that, just let me know. I also wanted to show you some other skeins that I've got going up. So it's not just the yarn kits for the shawl. I've also got some sock skeins going up, and some other little bits. I thought I would put Christina's lovely shawl on for this. It makes a good background as well. So I've already shown you that I've got the Saxon and talked through that a little bit. I've got 3 of those going up, I think, and I think it makes a wonderful pairing with winter grasses, which is also had a dip in indigo, and then just partially, and then bundle dyed with black hollyhock and onion skins and various flowers from my allotment. I was actually thinking they would make a beautiful like colourwork top or jumper together, so I thought they'd go really well. And I've got 4 of these winter grasses and 3 of the Saxon. This, which is called witch hazel. The witch hazel plant has been flowering vividly during winter, which I love. And I've got this sort of lovely deep rusty pink with the pale lilac, and then the splashes of bright orange and yellow on the sort of slightly purplier colour than the witch hazel base. I have got elder, which is madder and oak gall, there we go, to create this sort of lovely warm sort of plummy mid-purple. Got a couple of more sort of earthy toned ones. This one here, what's this? Oh yeah, this is birch, which I absolutely love. It's on an oak gall base with olive, rusty browns and golds. Just really looks to me like an autumn coloured birch with the fading gold leaves. Love it. Got a couple of those. And then this is myrtle, it's a different dye lot and base to the myrtle I did last year. But similar concept, so it's got the olive splashes on it, but it's a bit more of a slightly darker brown base than the pale grey I did last year. Really nicely together if you were to do like a shawl or a t-shirt sort of gradient. I think that'd be really pretty. I've also got here Celine, which is a pinky base with some more reds and greens and golds and sort of very dark purple that's nearly black. Bit more of an explosion of sort of wildflower colour, this one. I think that'd make a beautiful pair of socks, or even, you know, if you wanted to do a beautiful colours of nature blended top or shawl, I think that'd be really pretty. Or you could pop in a purple or something. I think they look really nice together. I mean, I think all natural dyes just seem to go really well together, so. But yeah, so I've got these, a few different colours of these singles. Here they all are. And then I've got a couple of other bits as well. This is winter, Jacob Winter worsted, which is what I knit my Pelica vest in. I have got about 130-ish grams of this in a lovely sort of yellowy goldy olive. And then I've got this in the colourway flax, and I have about 370 grams of this, and it's this lovely sort of, this is with walnut leaf, lovely, it's caramel colour, like toffee almost. And I used about 330 grams to make my Pelica vest. I'm a UK 10, if that's useful for reference. But yeah, so there's enough if you're about my size or want to make one about that size, or maybe one size up, to make a Pelica vest from that, because it's such a nice, it makes such a nice fabric. It's just really like very woolly wool, but has a lot of structure, and just looks beautiful in the garter stitch as a waistcoat. I love it so much. Or you could combine the two and do like a colour blocked one. I think they go really nicely together. Yeah, it's definitely like a woolly wool, a bit more rustic, but I think it's absolutely perfect for that pattern, or anything else that requires a bit of structure. I will do more of a regular update soon. Yes, for now I'm going to be finishing off the last of the kits and getting everything ready for the release next week. But yeah, thank you for watching. I hope everything's good in your neck of the woods, and yeah, let me know what you're excited about, what you're working on. I always love to hear about it. So yeah, speak soon.